Okay, so this is take two. I had some computer troubles last week. I had to get a new laptop. I go through laptops really fast. Even the very expensive custom-built laptops don't seem to last very long for me, and there's always whatever. So now I'm on a cheap laptop, and whatever. Now I'm getting all kinds of little pop-ups telling me whatever. So hopefully this is working. Anyway, since we didn't do the Bhagavad Gita last week, I'm going to do 2 chapters today. The camera picture's like tighter than I'm used to as well. This is really weird. So anyway, I'm going to do 2 chapters today. I'm going to do chapter 6, which is the Yoga of Meditation, as the original title, and the chapter 7, which is like the yoga of wisdom and knowledge. Yoga of wisdom and knowledge, or wisdom and science, wisdom and sort of knowingness. All right, so 2 chapters with this little commentary by me, hopefully. I'm going to expand that so I can see what I'm doing here. Booyah. Okay. And so the title in Iswaran's translation for chapter 6 is not the yoga of meditation, but the practice of meditation. It's probably one of the few titles that comes closest to the original. So it begins with Krishna speaking. Krishna says, "It is not those who lack energy or who refrain from action, but those who work without expectation of reward who attain the goal of meditation. Theirs is true renunciation. Therefore, Arjuna, you should understand that renunciation and the performance of selfless service are the same. Those who cannot renounce attachments to the results of their work are far from the path. For aspirants who want to climb the mountain of spiritual awareness, the path is selfless work. For those who have ascended to yoga, the path is stillness and peace. When a person has freed himself from attachment to the results of the work, and from desires for the enjoyment of sense objects, he ascends to the unitive state, the state of oneness." Reshape yourself through the power of your will. Never let yourself be degraded by self-will. The will is the only friend of the self. Oh, that's the big capital S self, so I decided I was going to read that as, man, there's so many pop-ups happening here. Okay, I decided I was going to read that as the soul, so let me reread that. Reshape yourself through the power of your will. Never let yourself be degraded by self-will. The will is the only friend of the soul, and the will is the only enemy of the soul. Those who have conquered themselves, the will is a friend, but it is an enemy of those who have not found the soul within them. The supreme reality stands revealed in the consciousness of those who have conquered themselves. They live in peace, alike in cold and heat, pain and pleasure, praise and blame. They are completely filled by spiritual wisdom and self-realization, or soul realization. Having conquered their senses, they have climbed to the summit of human consciousness. To such people, a clod of dirt, a stone, and gold are the same. They are equally disposed to family, enemies, and friends, to those who support them and those who are hostile, to the good and evil alike. Because they are impartial, they rise to great heights. And I'm just going to read that again because I like that part. They are completely fulfilled by spiritual wisdom and soul realization. Soul, S-O-U-L, realization. Having conquered their senses, they have climbed to the summit of human consciousness. To such people, a clod of dirt, a stone, and gold are the same. They are equally disposed to family, enemies, and friends, to those who support them and those who are hostile, to the good and the evil alike. But because they are impartial, they rise to great heights. Those who aspire to the state of yoga should seek the soul in the inner solitude through meditation. With body and mind controlled, they should constantly practice one-pointedness, free from expectations and attachment to the material possessions. Select a clean spot. Here's the instructions for meditation. Select a clean spot, neither too high nor too low, and seat yourself firmly on a cloth, a deerskin, and kusha grass. Then, once seated, strive to still your thoughts. Make your mind one-pointed in meditation, and your heart will be purified. Hold your body, head, and neck firmly in a straight line, and keep your eyes from wandering. With all fears dissolved in the peace of the soul, and all desires dedicated to Brahman, controlling the mind and fixing it on me, sit in meditation with me as your only goal. With senses and mind constantly controlled through meditation, united with the soul within, an aspirant attains nirvana, the state of abiding joy and peace in me. Arjuna, those who eat too much or eat too little, who sleep too much or sleep too little, will not succeed in meditation. But those who are temperate in eating and sleeping, work and recreation, will come to the end of sorrow through meditation. They will come to the end of sorrow through meditation. Through constant effort, they learn to withdraw from the mind. Blah, 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 blah. Through constant effort, they learn to withdraw the mind from selfish cravings and absorb it in the soul. Thus they attain the state of union. When meditation is mastered, the mind is unwavering like the flame of a lamp in a windless place. In the still mind, in the depths of meditation, the self reveals itself. In the still mind, in the depths of meditation, the soul reveals itself. Beholding the soul by means of the soul, an aspirant knows the joy and peace of complete fulfillment. Having attained that abiding joy beyond the senses, revealed in the stilled mind, he never swerves from the eternal truth. He desires nothing else and cannot be shaken by the heaviest burden of sorrow. The practice of meditation frees one from all affliction. This is the path of yoga. Follow it with determination and sustained enthusiasm, renouncing wholeheartedly all selfish desires and expectations. Use your will to control the senses. Little by little, through patience and repeated effort, the mind will become stilled in the soul. Whenever the mind wanders, it's wherever the mind wanders, restless and diffuse in its search for satisfaction without, lead it within. So wherever the mind wanders, because it's restless and diffuse in its search for satisfaction out here in the world, lead it within, train it to rest in the soul. Abiding joy comes to those who still the mind, freeing themselves from the taint of self-will. It's little s this time. Freeing themselves from the taint of self-will. With their consciousness unified, they become one with Brahman. And again, Brahman is the sort of... I lost my picture. Brahman is this sort of... like, it isn't like God in the sense, like the way we think of God in the West as sort of like this being who's all pervasive. But Brahman is sort of like the structure of existence. Everything that exists is Brahman because Brahman is like existence itself. So you see this actually idea in the Old Testament. Those of you like me who grew up as Christians or were familiar with the Bible, when God reveals God's self to Moses in chapter 3 of Exodus, and Moses says, "What is your name, so I can tell the people that you sent me?" The famous line is where, God sounds like he's Popeye the Sailor, says, it's always translated, "I am that I am." but that I am part is tied to the verb of being. And so God is saying, I am existence. I am the one who exists. And that's how when the scripture was translated into the Greek around 200 or 300 BC, because more Jewish people were living outside of the Palestine area, but were living all around the Greco and soon to be Roman world, and were speaking and thinking more in Greek. The scriptures were translated in Greek, and they translated that word that becomes, they translated the name of God, or at least that part where God says, I am that I am, they translate in the Greek as haon, which is the participle for the verb to be, and a participle is ongoing action. So like the verb is run, but the participle is running because it's ongoing. And so the participle is being. So when Moses says, what is your name? God says, being, the being, the one who is, the one who exists, the one who has being. And everything else that exists flows from that being. And so it's just that in the West we have this sort of personalized version of this, and here in sort of like the Indian scriptures, it's more depersonalized. So it's this sense that there's this life force, there's this existence, there's this energy that flows through everything, and that's Brahman. I'm sorry, it's a little as commentary as possible, but I decided to sneak that in there, I guess. Okay, the infinite joy of touching Brahman is easily attained by those who are free from the burden of evil and established within themselves. They see the soul in every creature and all creation in the soul. Again, it's that word S, capital S, self. So it's the word self, capital S, which would probably be Atman in the Sanskrit, which is, I don't really want to go into that right now. But for lack of a better term, and to really simplify to this, especially those of us from like a Western mindset, we're just going to make this soul. And so they see the soul in every creature, in all creation in the soul. So there's that unity, that there's sort of, since Brahman is everything, we all share in Brahman. And so and this may stretch your mind a little bit, but I invite you to sort of contemplate it. If you get a quiet place in your car and not afraid to turn off the radio and actually hear yourself think about how there is this thing, this energy. Everything is energy, and it's all the same energy. It just vibrates differently, and we see different things. If energy vibrates this way, it's a tree. Energy vibrates this way, it's a bush. Energy vibrates this way, it's a tree, but it vibrates a little differently from this tree, and it's this kind of tree. So or if it vibrates this way, it's a human being, or if it vibrates this way, it's a dog. And so everything is energy. So everything is that sort of Brahman. And so if we're all connected through this energy or this life force, then I would invite you to, in your contemplation, to think about the idea that we all somehow share the same soul, that each of our individual souls are also part of this sort of, hey, if I can use the name of a 90s band, which is actually referencing this sort of idea, a collective soul. So there may be the soul in this sort of entity called RJ, and there may be the soul in you, but there's also the soul that unites us all. And I think that's what we're getting at in church when we're doing things like communion, or we talk about being in the body of Christ. There's this sort of collective being that we are, as well as individual beings. Anyway, I digress. But I was tied with the idea of the consciousness of, where was it? I was seeing, they see the soul in every creature and all creation in the soul. With consciousness unified through meditation, they see everything with an equal eye. And so through meditation, we learn to not just look at everything out there all the time and all these this chaos of millions of forms and beings, but by focusing on the inside and resting in the soul, we see our connectedness with all that stuff. And so it becomes less noisy out there as we learn to rest in the soul in here and begin to see our soul in that squirrel running across the yard, in this dog that is about to chase that squirrel, in me talking to you, all of that somehow being one thing. I know it's kind of cool. Or it's not. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool. I'm not going to tell you how to think. I'm ever present. This is still Christian talking. I'm ever present to those who have realized me in every creature. So Krishna now is saying is he's in every creature. Krishna is in that squirrel. Krishna is in that dog. Krishna is that bird that just went to the bird feeder. Krishna is in me talking. Krishna is in you listening. Blah, blah, blah. That's what he's saying. Or you can say whatever. If you don't like Krishna, or you're not comfortable with that idea, God or Jesus or Holy Spirit, whatever works for you. I'm not denying any of it. I'm ever present for those who have realized me in every creature, seeing all life as my manifestation. They are never separated from me. And I think regardless of what religion you are, whatever, if you think of God as being everywhere, then you have to accept the idea that God is present in every creature. And every creature is somehow a manifestation of the divine. They are never separate from me. They worship me in their hearts. They're never separate from me. They worship me in the hearts of all, and all their actions proceed from me. Wherever they may live, they abide in me. When a person responds to the joys and sorrows of others as if they were his own, he has attained the highest state of spiritual union. And now Arjuna responds, O Krishna, the stillness of divine union which you describe is beyond my comprehension. You may be feeling the same way. You just wrinkled my brain. I can't even handle what you're saying. It's over my head, man. How can the mind, which is so restless, attain lasting peace? Krishna, the mind is restless, turbulent, powerful, violent. Trying to control it is like trying to tame the wind. In the East, they call it the monkey mind because it's always jumping around from thing to thing. So Arjuna is saying, great, control the mind, focus the mind. How? The mind's crazy. It's doing, it's this. How are you going to get it to do this? And Krishna responds, it is true that the mind is restless and difficult to control, but it can be conquered, Arjuna, through regular practice and detachment. Those who lack self-control will find it difficult to progress in meditation, but those who are self-controlled, striving earnestly through the right means, will attain the goal. Arjuna, Krishna, what happens to the man who has faith but who lacks self-control and wanders from the path, not attaining success in yoga? If a man becomes deluded on the spiritual path, he will lose the support of both worlds, like a cloud scattered by the sky. Krishna, you can dispel all doubts. Remove this doubt which binds me. So if you didn't catch that, Arjuna saying is, well, what happens if I try this, if I do this, but through life somehow I fall away from this, or, whatever, things get in the way. I think you can ask that for any religious person. You set out early on, you're fervent in your faith, whether it's faith to Jesus or faith to whatever religion you may be in. But life starts getting in the way. What happens when you sort of fall by the wayside, or going to church isn't as important as it used to be, and reading the Bible isn't as important as it used to be, or taking time to prayer isn't as important as it used to be? What happens? Was all that for nothing? That's sort of the question he's asking, to sort of Christian and Westernize it a little bit. And so Krishna's answer is, Arjuna, and you can find a way to Christianize and Westernize this in your head, because he's giving a Hindu answer, but it still applies. You just may have to find a way to make it apply. Krishna says, Arjuna, my son, such a person will not be destroyed. That person's okay. They tried, they fell away, whatever, they didn't quite make the goal. That person's good. Don't worry about that, Arjuna. No one who does good work will ever come to a bad end, either here or in the world to come. When such people die, they go to other realms where the righteous live. They dwell there for countless years and then are reborn into a home which is pure and prosperous. Or they may be born into a family where meditation is practiced. To be born into such a family is extremely rare. The wisdom they have acquired in previous lives will be reawakened, Arjuna, and they will strive even harder for self-realization. Indeed, they will be driven on by the strength of their past disciplines. Even one who inquires after the practice of meditation rises above those who simply perform rituals. And the gist of Krishna's response, I think of in terms of football, professional American football. Krishna's basically saying forward progress counts. So those of you who don't know American football, when you're running with the ball and the other team goes to tackle you, if you run down to, say, the 20-yard line, but the other team sort of grabs you and they push you backwards, and they push you back to the 30 or the 40-yard line, the next play begins at the 20-yard line. Forward progress. That's where the forward progress stopped you, and even though you weren't down, your progress was stopped and you were moved backward. They call the end of the play, so you're not down back here. You're not recovering old ground. You're down here. So Krishna is saying that applies to spiritual things too. Forward progress counts. So regardless of what you may believe about the afterlife, Krishna obviously is talking about, the popular term we would call is reincarnation or transmigration of souls. But he's basically saying that, look, all the good and everything you've done still counts. And even if you fall away or whatever, you can't complete the goal, you don't get the touchdown, you'll start the next life, the next play, where you finished off, not where you were pushed back to by whatever life. Think of the other team. Life is the other team or other things in your life that may be pushing against you. All right, they may tackle you and knock you down, but the forward progress is what counts. So keep trying to get those yards. Keep running the ball. Keep play after play. Just move forward, and you'll eventually cross the goal line. Krishna continues, through constant effort over many lifetimes, a person becomes purified of all selfish desires and attains the supreme goal of life. Man, that's nuclear. Meditation is superior to severe asceticism. I know how to say the word. And the path of yoga. My tongue and my mouth and my brain are all doing different things. So let me see here. Meditation is superior to severe asceticism and the path of knowledge. It is also superior to selfless service. And these are things he talked about in previous chapters. Path of knowledge was the Jnana Yoga. The selfless service was the Karma Yoga. So he's saying meditation is superior to the knowledge, the yoga of knowledge. It's superior, or the yoga of wisdom. It's superior to the yoga of action. You may attain the goal of meditation. Oh, may you attain the goal of meditation, Arjuna. Even among those who meditate, that man or woman who worships me with perfect faith, completely absorbed in me, is the most firmly established in yoga. And that's the end of chapter 6. And chapter 7, the yoga of wisdom and knowledge, or Iswaran has chapter 7, wisdom from realization. And so Krishna is still talking. It's not too long. I think Krishna talks this whole chapter. Okay. So Krishna is still talking. Krishna says, with your mind intent on me, Arjuna, discipline yourself with the practice of yoga. Depend on me completely. Listen, and I will dispel all your doubts. You will come to know me fully and be united with me. I will give you both jnana and vijnana. When both of these are realized, there is nothing more you need to know. Let me back up a second. Jnana is wisdom, or what we talked about before, that yoga of jnana, with wisdom, and vijnana is the realization or the knowledge. So they kept the Sanskrit here, so let me sort of reread that in a way that's not using the Sanskrit terms. I will give you both wisdom and knowledge, or real knowledge, because it's realization. When both of these are realized, there is nothing more you need to know. One person in many thousands may seek perfection, yet these only, my eyes, my mouth, my tongue, my brain are all doing different things. So one person in many thousand may seek perfection, yet of these only a few reach the goal and come to realize me. Earth, water, fire, air, akshaya, mind, intellect, and ego, these are the 8 divisions of my Prakriti. But beyond this, I have another, higher nature, Arjuna. It supports the whole universe and is the source of life in all beings. In these 2 aspects of my nature is the womb of all creation. The birth and dissolution of the cosmos itself take place in me. There is nothing that exists separate from me, Arjuna. The entire universe is suspended from me as my necklace of jewels. Arjuna, I am the taste of pure water and the radiance of the sun and moon. I am the sacred word and the sound heard in the air. I am the courage of human beings. I am the sweet fragrance in the earth and the radiance of fire. I am the life in every creature and the striving of the spiritual aspirant. My eternal seed, Arjuna, is found in every creature. I am the power of discrimination over those who are intelligent, the glory of the noble. In those who are strong, I am strength, free from passion and selfish attachment. I am desire itself, if that desire is in harmony with the purpose of life. The states of sattva, rajas, and tamas come from me, but I am not in them. These 3 gunas deceive the world. People fail to look beyond them to me, supreme and imperishable. The 3 gunas make up my divine Maya, difficult to overcome, but they cross over this Maya who take refuge in me. Maya is sort of like, or just to really simplify this, Maya is illusion. It's the sort of the illusion of multiplicity and separateness. It's sort of the false reality that most of us live in. The sleepwalking reality of habit that we all live in sort of physical form. And the gunas, if you remember, are sort of these natural forces, these natural drives. So there's, rajas, tamas, and sattvas. Rajas is sort of action. Tamas is like sloth and ignorance, and sattvas is like goodness and purity. And these things are always at play within us and balanced within us, and depending on how they're balanced, it sort of affects how we operate and how we feel and what we do. Yes, so take all that into consideration. These gunas deceive the world. People fail to look beyond them to me. Supreme and imperishable, the 3 gunas make up my divine Maya. So they're part of the illusion system. Difficult to overcome. But they cross over this Maya who take refuge in me. So Krishna is saying, or God is saying, or however you want to look at this, is saying, focus on me, take refuge in me, and you'll cut through the crazy. You'll cut through the BS. You'll cut through the illusion, and you won't be driven by your feelings and your drives. You will actually learn to use them as tools to help you, rather than being the drivers that manipulate you and take you where they want to go rather than you using them sort of to appreciate where you are and what you're doing. If that makes any sense. Others are deluded by Maya, or the illusion, performing evil deeds. They have no devotion to me, having lost all discrimination. They follow the way of their lower nature. Good people come to worship me for different reasons. Some come to the spiritual life because of suffering. Some in order to understand life. Some come through a desire to achieve life's purpose. And some come who are men and women of wisdom. Unwavering in devotion, always united with me, the man or woman of wisdom surpasses all the others. To them I am the dearest beloved, and they are very dear to me. All those who follow the spiritual path are blessed, but the wise who are always established in union, for whom there is no higher goal than me, may be regarded as my very soul. There's that word self again with the capital S. So those who are always established in the oneness of everything, and who see no higher goal than God, in this case it's Krishna talking about being the personification of God, or you can make it Christ, or whatever you want, or just God. So imagine God saying this or Christ saying this. The wise who are established in the oneness of everything, for whom there is no higher goal than me, they may be regarded as my very own soul, the soul of God. After many births, the wise seek refuge in me, seeing me everywhere and in everything. Such great souls are very rare. There are others whose discrimination is misled by many desires. Following their own nature, they worship lower gods, practicing various rites. When a person is devoted to something with complete faith, I unify his faith in that. Then, when faith is completely unified, one gains the object of devotion. In this way, every desire is fulfilled by me. Those whose understanding is small attain only a transient satisfaction. Those who worship the gods go to the gods, but my devotees come to me. Through lack of understanding, people believe that I, the unmanifest, have entered into some form. They fail to realize my true nature, which transcends birth and death. Few see through the veil of Maya, or few see through the veil of illusion. The world deluded does not know that I am without birth and changeless. I know everything about the past, present, and the future, Arjuna, but there is no one who knows me completely. Delusion arises from the duality of attraction and aversion, Arjuna. Don't bark in here, buddy. Go outside. Go outside, buddy. Delusion arises from the duality of attraction and aversion, Arjuna. Every creature is deluded by these from birth. Attraction and aversion. Moving towards the things you like or want, or avoiding the things you don't like or don't want. That creates the delusion and plays into the Maya of illusion. Delusion. They rhyme, so it must be true. Delusion arises from the duality of attraction and aversion, Arjuna. Every creature is deluded by these from birth. Every creature, not just human beings, but everything is motivated by what it wants and what it's trying to avoid. Live with dogs, you'll definitely see that, that's for sure. I'm sure cats are the same way as well. But those who have freed themselves from all wrongdoing are firmly established in worship of me. Their actions are pure, and they are free from the delusion caused by the pairs of opposites. Those who take refuge in me, striving for liberation from old age and death, come to know Brahman, the soul, and the nature of all action. Those who see me ruling the cosmos, who see me as the, Sanskrit, Adhibhuta, the Adhidive, Hidaiva, and and the Adhyana, I don't know, are conscious of me even at the time of death. Let's see if these words are translated somewhere. No, that would make it easy. So I need to have another Usually he's pretty good at translating the Sanskrit, which is why I like him. But I don't know. I'll have to figure that out. So, I don't know. You do your homework. You can. I can't even tell you how to spell these words. They're crazy. So let me go back here. Those who take refuge in me, striving for liberation from old age and death, come to know Brahman. Remember Brahman, that sort of thing that's everywhere, that existence itself. But it's interesting here because the way he has it is to know Brahman, the capital S self. So he's equating the capital S self with Brahman. So it's sort of like he's saying, he has Krishna saying in this translation, that Brahman is sort of the soul of the universe, which works. It's like that collective soul, right? It's that there's the soul of the universe. And then we are sort of parts of that soul, just like we are waves on the ocean, right? You cannot have the wave without the ocean. And it's foolish for a wave to just think of itself as the wave, as a part of everything, as sort of distinct and unconnected with everything else, because the wave only exists because the wave is part of the ocean, and on the ocean are other waves. So even though I'm a wave over here and you're a wave over there, we're still the same ocean, so therefore we are still connected through this universal soul, this Brahman, this collective soul, the soul where we all sort of merge into. And so the understanding is, and as I was saying last night to someone, and I put it on Facebook too, is that if I'm the wave, I know that I can only exist as a part of the ocean. So if I can experience the reality of being the ocean, then I can be all the waves at the same time. So if I am just me, but I know that I must be connected to this thing that is connected to everything, because everything has existence, right? So if I exist as me, then I can just live my life as me, right? I'm just this little guy named RJ, and then whatever happens to RJ happens, and he dies, and whatever happens there happens there. But I'm this thing, RJ. But RJ is connected to existence because RJ exists, as far as I know. RJ exists, and this existence is connected to this existence itself because everything exists, has this sort of existence-ness. And so if I can move back inside of RJ, I can connect with that thing that's connected to everything. And then I can achieve that sense of oneness, that unity, and not get caught up in all the BS that's going on out there. It doesn't mean that the BS stops. It just means that you're just not as caught up about it because you have the bigger picture, right? As some of my yogi friends like to say and remind themselves, as we reduce the ego isn't reduced, it's actually expanded. And so it becomes less about just being the self and more about being larger than the self and connected to this larger thing. And that's the way you keep your ego happy too, because if it thinks you're killing it this thing we have in our culture about, we got to kill the ego or reduce the ego. Well, the ego doesn't like that, and the ego will fight back. And so you will find yourself having more bad days and becoming more selfish and more whatever, trying to curb the ego than just sort of saying, okay, ego, let's work together at this, and say, actually what we're going to do, ego, is we're going to expand you. You're going to be bigger than you are. And the ego likes that because the ego wants to be more. The ego wants to be, and it wants to be more, and it wants to be in control. And so as we expand the ego so that it includes others and other things as well, it's what we think of as deflating the ego because the I-ness of me gets smaller, but the I-ness of us and whatever gets bigger. I don't know if that made any sense. Anyway, I'm rambling now, and I moved into commentary, and I don't want to do that. So thank you for those of you who have persevered through this or skipped along or whatever. Thank you very much. And for the rest of you, thank you very much as well. Peace.